Good evening, Victor. No, not yet. Maybe now. Victor, welcome aboard.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you keeping?
I am doing just fine, and we are live, and it's great to have you here on the last frequency. I'm looking forward to talking with you. I hope everything's okay over there. You sound like you had a one heck of a storm going through.
It was kind of scary there to begin with, for sure. But it's okay now. The white stuff is falling down still, but we're back. The power's back up, and we're alive and well, thank goodness.
Oh, good, 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 good. Well, I thought maybe a good place to start. A little background. You've been doing this a while. How'd you get involved in all of this? And yeah, so kind of take us through quickly. Maybe how you got where you are now.
Well, it's a long story. You're right. I've been involved for, gee whiz, almost 45 years now. I read initially when I first uh, was aware of this, I ran into a book by Jacques Vallée called Revelations. I was up at my cottage up north in northern Ontario, and I was just browsing in a bookstore, and I saw this book, and I picked it up and started paging through it. Before that, I really had no particular interest at all in the whole topic of UFOs or whatever you want to call them. And I began to page through the book. I said, this looks interesting. So I brought it home and I read the book during the summer up at the cottage. Being a teacher, I had 2 months off, so I actually read the book 3 times before I really understood what the heck was going on. And Jacques Vallée, as some of your listeners may know, is a very famous researcher in the field of UFOs and other things too. So that's how I started. And after that, several years following that, I got involved with MUFON Ontario here in Canada, and from there, I made a few contacts with a number of people through MUFON. And then I had the opportunity of co-hosting a radio program here in Toronto. It was called Strange Days Indeed, with the host Errol Bruce Knapp. And Errol was a very prominent figure within the UFO research community. And our program was syndicated to probably around 45 to 50 North American radio stations, and then eventually on the internet. And we interviewed everybody and just about worldwide that was involved in this whole issue. So I got to know a lot of people through the interview process and made connections that way. So essentially, that's how I got involved and how I've been remained involved for the last number of years.
All right, great. And folks, I want to remind you if you want to watch, you can go over to Rumble. If you go on a video archive page on the website, lastfrequency.com, there's a link right there. It'll take you right over. And you can watch or you can listen from the website. It's up to you. So I wanted to get your perspective on now what you say the current sad state of manipulated UAP disclosure, and when you manipulated, like how badly?
Well, the problem when I use the word manipulate, I'm referring to um, uh, how can I put it politely? It's rather unique because this topic is so bizarre, so strange, and you have to look at it from several perspectives. First of all, there's the perspective of, I guess, the common UFO researcher, the people who write the books, write the articles, have podcasts, and all of that kind of stuff. That's one perspective on this. And then there's the perspective of how the media, up until recently, has dealt with this issue and manipulated it. And then there's the aspect of the government. Okay, when I say the government, I'm using that as a very, very broad term. I don't mean government in terms of congressional leaders or members of parliament or anything like that, because those poor souls, by and large, know nothing about this UFO issue at all. So it's up to the military and the intelligence agencies, inside government officials to manipulate this particular topic in whatever way they see fit. And that is usually, it began with back as far back as 1947, by completely dismissing the issue and covering it up and using and orchestrating a huge cover up with it for almost 75 years now. So that's the kind of thing that's gone on over 7 or 8 decades. So it has been manipulated. It's been something that has been hidden, that's been sequestered and falsified, misinformation, you name it. Everything has been thrown at this issue to discredit the whole thing. First of all, of the concept of UFOs or UAP, whatever you want to call them, those kind of
Yeah.
craft. And then on top of that, completely misdirect the idea that these craft uh, are not of Earth origin, and that's the real bad part of this whole thing. That the craft, and it's been proven time after time after time, that these craft, most of them, are not from, they're not of Earth origin. Is basically is it. So if you look at, let's say, 100 sightings of UFOs, uh, our research tells us that about 95 or 98% of what's categorized as a UFO are in fact unidentified. We don't know what they are. Weather anomalies, missightings of aircraft, stars, planetary meteors, whatever you want to call them. 98% of those things fall into that category. But then there's that other 2 to 3 or 4% that we just cannot explain, and that's the category of information that we deal with. And so there's been a lot of misdirection and miscalculation about what these things really are. And as a result of all that, some of the really good researchers that have done all of the legwork, all the homework, have pretty much clarified for the rest of the human family that these craft, and they come and visit on a regular basis, are not of Earth origin. So that's what we're talking about in terms of the huge scale of manipulation that this whole UFO issue has undergone over the past 75 or 80 years.
And how much do you think the government, and I guess this would probably be speculation, but how much do you feel they do know about this?
Well, there's a the jury is out on that, and once again, it's at different levels of what you call knowing. Okay,
Yeah.
what I think we have to look at is, when you once again, when I say the government, we're looking at the deep black budget operations, the deepest levels of secrecy that you can ever imagine. Now, most of the time when you talk about the government and the intelligence agency, it's quite common to mention names like the FBI or the CIA or the NRO or the NSA, all of those alphabet organizations who run the American intelligence departments, and they're not the only ones. They are in the United States. They also have their counterparts in other countries. MI6 in the UK, and different kinds of secretive agencies within other countries, in France and Belgium and Europe, throughout Europe and Germany. So you look at those entities within their intelligence communities on the surface, and they have their own data on this stuff. They collect sighting reports. They know what the military encounters, but that's only one level of real secrecy. What you have to do is understand that this phenomenon, and the basic understanding of what this phenomenon really is, exists at the deepest and the darkest level of intelligence within, let's use the United States as an example. That's where it resides. And so you ask me, what does that deepest level know about it? I would say that they know a lot. They know a lot about what these things are, what their propulsion systems are, where they might come from, not,